a video of a group of men crashing an anniversary celebration in Moletjie Ga-Semenya in Limpopo has sparked outrage in some quarters. It's alleged that the perpetrators did this because no one is actually allowed to host events during the initiation season across villages that fall under Kgosi Kgabo Moloto. Now, this has angered some community members, accusing those who attacked the family of violating the family's human rights. Let's get a better sense of what actually took place and what the issues here are, and bring in the Limpopo Traditional Affairs MEC, that's Basikopo Makamu, who joins us via our video link this morning. MEC, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you so much indeed for making time. And there are conflicting views around what the appropriate response should be by this family. But let's take a few steps back and lay out the context. My understanding is that there are certain rules and rituals to be observed during the initiation season in some communities. What exactly are those, and in what ways did this family potentially violate them?
Thanks very much, Ayanda, and thanks for the opportunity. Of course, we are now in the 21st century. That will call upon that we should coexist as human beings in the form of our cultural practice, but also into the modern life that we are living. It is correct that when an initiation schools are done in a particular community, the traditional leaders will be able to do that in consultation with the community, which may not necessarily be there previously. And that is a part we are doing just to make sure that the community should get aware. But all those cultural practices, like we will be told when initiation schools is there, you can't play your radio loud because of there so that they can be able to practice. But that is not something that is new, that you cannot. Me and you, even today, know that when you pass by a church, you will see even boss that will be saying to you, loud radio are not allowed next to the church, and we coexist with that, and we'll be able to appreciate that. So it is our culture that we should be able to practice together with what it's supposed to do on our day-to-day. Of course, today, you will even look at some of them being economic activities that will allow people to survive out of that. But that does not necessarily mean that we should be able to live our African cultures, our Ubuntu of understanding that we should coexist and make sure that we respect other people's practices.
Sure. So my understanding is that what you're saying is that typically there are some, or during the initiation season, the expectation from families in some villages is that there's no celebratory mood until the season itself is over. This family was holding some kind of celebration, and we understand was attacked for that. Are you saying the attack is justifiable because of the cultural practices of some people in the community?
Let me say we will not condone any violence against any other person, as much as those that believe in the initiation practice or cultural practice will not expect any other people to harm them for their belief in that. But the fact that the family also believe it will have been discussed with the senior traditional leadership to say, in terms of our practice, this is how we should handle ourselves during this time. We should be able to suspend. Look, I am aware, me and you know, that just some 2 years ago, we were from the COVID-19. I will sit with traditional leadership and they say to me, MEC, we should allow traditional rituals to take place even under the circumstances, because people have to graduate from their initiative. But that will also have to be negotiated with the senior traditional leadership so that the community should be able to understand that we are supposed to make sure that we respect other people, as the Constitution will talk about the Bill of Rights. So somebody's rights cannot just be not be considered on the basis that I believe on my right and expect not to respect other people's rights.
MEC, in what ways did this family's decision to hold the celebration infringe on the cultural rights of those who believe in the initiation season and all its observances?
Let me indicate, as one of the person who also grew in villages where we were under traditional leadership, that of course I will say it is in our cultural practice that when the initiation schools are done in a particular community, we will be laid rules to say you are not allowed to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things until such time, and will be told that the initiation schools will complete its entire term by this time. Out of that time, you will be able to. And just to make sure that we comply with those traditional practices that will be laid by the senior traditional leadership, we will expect anybody else to be part of the package of being under such a traditional leader, and we will be able to follow that. And that is how we survive all along and make sure that we preserve the culture that we have. And I think every one of us should be able to say it is something that we should follow. Let me tell you, Ayanda, that normally an initiation course in a particular senior traditional leader will come after a number of years. It is not like it will be here this year, next year, at the very same. They will normally rotate and allow people to do other practices that are there, and you allow only this practice for this season or the particular year.
Okay. You said that you don't condone the behavior by those who attack the family, but, you know, your reasoning certainly almost appears to justify it, but not your words. Those are my words. What I also understand is that there are other villages, like in Ga-Semenya, for instance, where community members are able to coexist. There are people who observe the initiation period and all that comes with it, including the somber mood, and other people who don't subscribe to that. Those individuals who choose not to opt into that traditional practice, they don't have their families and homes ransacked because of people who believe that there should be a way of doing things during a certain period.
Of course, my reasoning might be saying something. I must say I condemn any act of violence. For anybody who is coming from initiation schools, attack the family. There is a proper way in a village that we should handle conflicts or a conflicting situation. And in this case, I say, if those that attacked have gone to a senior traditional leader and be able to speak, there will be a delegation from a senior traditional leader to that family and say, this is what we are requesting. Let me tell you, in my village, we are not allowed to play a radio on Friday when the cops are coming in the village, and everybody else will comply to that, even if it means you will be able to say until this time. So I'm saying in Sekhukhune, there will be appreciation to say we should be able to coexist, that this belief in this cultural practice of initiation schools, and we can still do our things without necessarily tampering with them. And that will be something that will be negotiated with a leadership traditionally in that community. So I'm saying in this case, and it's a case that I personally know Kgosi Kgabo Moloto to say they should have been managing the two contradictions which could be there in their community.
That's interesting. I mean, my understanding is that this is still mostly a pluralist state, which means we're meant to coexist with varying ideological prescriptions, code of ethics, etc., and hopefully our differences in that context won't lead to violence, which I guess is also what you're saying. Thanks for your time, MEC. It's great to have you on the program. Really appreciate it. Basikopo Makamu is the MEC for Traditional Affairs in Limpopo. It's an interesting story, isn't it? This idea that some communities have an expectation that in certain periods, certain things are done, when in those communities there may very well be households that don't subscribe to that. What does that mean about how they can coexist?